Hello everyone, and welcome to my Akali video guide. Seeing as you guys have been requesting a guide for quite a while, I figured why not make one, guys, and we're gonna do things a bit different now. I'm gonna be doing it in a video, so it's easier for you guys to check it out, and you can just put it on your second monitor if you have, and yeah, do different stuff at the same time. As you can see, we're at my room pages. We're going to start with that. Start with the basics, of course. Fix everything before we get into the game. Now, the first thing that you guys should know is that I use 3 different Akali room pages. We're going to start with the first one, which is called Akali Standard. Alright, so what's in there? There's Hybrid Penetration Reds, Flat Armor Seals, Flat Magic Resistance in the glyphs here, and flat ability power in quintessences. Now, as the name suggests, it is quite standard. When do you want to use this rulebook? I actually don't use it that often. This rulebook is used when you are expecting an easy lane matchup. An example of that would be a Nasus. Nasus is weak early, and you can bust out a little extra AP, and it's all round. It's pretty good against kind of everything. So if you are on a budget and you don't have a lot of IP to spend, I would suggest this room page, seeing as it will do fine in any matchup. Now, why do I have 2 other room pages? That is because I like to get that little extra edge on my opponents in different matchups. So let's go into the next one, shall we? It's called Akali versus strong AD. What would be a strong AD opponent? A Riven, a Pantheon, a Darius, those things are quite strong. And you'll see how my rulebook shifts a little bit. Now, Reds is still Hybrid Pen. You'll see that Hybrid Pen is consistent in all 3 rune setups because it is simply the best in slot for red for Akali. Yellow. I actually take out my flat armor and replace it with scaling health. Now you might think, Shady, why the fuck would you remove armor if you're playing against AD? That is because the quintessences are switched out and they become armor instead of flat ability power. Now, why do we do that? We do that because if you play against a strong AD opponent, the chances of us killing them early, and I mean pre-6 or bullying them early, become significantly lower, and the flat ability power isn't that useful later on. So what does this rulebook want to do? It wants to set you up for a nice laning phase. The scaling health will make it easier for you to survive level 6 burst, for instance, from Riven, combined with extra armor to make it a bit easier in the early laning phase. And then in the blue we have scaling ability power, since we don't need magic resistance versus an AD opponent. And of course that will also scale well into the later game. This book is essentially designed to let you survive the early game against an AD opponent and then hit a nice spike at 6, getting these scaling yellow and blue runes. And of course, the starting item will be a cloth armor. As in all of my lanes in top lane, I prefer cloth 5. So it then synergizes really nicely. You get the armor from the cloth plus these quintessences. All right, moving on. We have Akali versus strong AP. Now, what would be a good example here? A good example would be a Syndra. Syndra or a Ziggs. Let's say you have to go mid lane with Akali. I like to get this book, because what will it do? Once again, we're going to go into the reds first. Hybrid Pen, as I just mentioned, best in slot. We look at the quintessences, we have magic resistance. Same reasoning as with the ADs. You're not going to have a very good early game against the likes of a Syndra or a Ziggs. So these will help you mitigate damage while you can get some farm. Scaling health in yellow, once again, you don't need the armor, seeing as you're playing against an AP opponent. And then of course magic resistance in your glyphs. This actually gives you some nice padding, gives you 24 magic resistance, and I will still start with a cloth armor when I use this rune setup, simply because you always need a little bit of base armor. If you don't have any base armor, auto attacks do a lot more damage, minion attacks do a lot more damage, maybe the jungler is AD as well, so it's always nice to have that little extra armor. So cloth armor start, still pretty good, combined with good MR, 5 potions, really just sets you up to survive the laning phase. That's what most of my rune setups are all about, surviving that early game and then hitting that nasty level 6 spike where people just don't know what to do because you're just gonna kill them. Alright, moving on to the Masteries. Let's have a look. Alright, so first off, this is the Mastery page that you're gonna be using around 99% of the time. So it's very standard. You got your cooldown reduction combined with double-edged sword. Of course, extra damage as an assassin. Who wouldn't want that? Exposed weakness actually helps out quite a bit, combined with brute force and mental force. Now you might think, why would you take both? You don't have enough points for that. You actually do, because here we get the flat extra ability power and AD. Why is this good? This helps you with last hitting. This helps you with that little extra early pressure. Masteries are essentially designed once again to get you through the laning phase. So that's really my focus when I am playing Akali. My runes and Masteries are going to be focused on getting me through the laning phase. Because Akali is excellent in the mid game, kind of regardless. So these Masteries really set you up nicely for that. Of course, Executioner, 50% extra damage. No, well, 5% extra damage, excuse me. 50 would be a little bit overpowered. And yeah, Arcane Blade, I always call it a mini Lich Bane. That's exactly what it does. It gets you some extra damage in there. And then just the extra penetration and Havoc, of course. Skipping out on Warlord and Archmage, don't really want those, the scaling ones. Then in defense, also quite standard. You get the block, extra regen, and then some health. Now, I said 99% of the time. What is the other 1%? Once again, when you're against a lane where you know you simply cannot lose early, like a Nasus, for instance, this gives you that little extra edge, gives you that little bit of extra damage going into the later game, having the spell weaving, blade weaving, and dangerous game. I like this mastery. It does allow you to rack off a lot of health when you get your resets. Let's say that you score 3 kills in a team fight. That's 15% of your missing health. Well, of course, the percent always becomes a little bit less once you get higher health, but you get my point. It's quite a nice mastery, and you simply don't need these extra defense masteries when you are playing an easy lane like that. Alright guys, that concludes it for the masteries. Alright guys, right now we are going to discuss the builds. What is the build that you want on Akali? As you see, I don't really use custom item sets. I don't know, I have one for Kha'Zix back in the day when I played him, but we'll use this interface. It's really easy to explain the build. Now, what are you going to start with? As I mentioned earlier, you're going to start with a cloth armor and 5 potions. Why do I list the boots here? Let's say that you do not have my specific room page against AP. Let's say you don't have that and you just have the standard one. That means that you already have a little bit of extra armor in there, and starting with a cloth armor is probably somewhat overkill. So starting with boots is fine then. You don't really need the early cloth armor against the APs if you have the basic armor in your rune set already. So then it's fine picking up boots of speed, being able to dodge out, dodge projectiles a little easier, a Nidalee Spear, for instance, and so on and so on. So that's why the boots are also listed here. Now, we get into the core items, which are essentially Zhonya's Hourglass and Hextech Gunblade. These items are just so crucial on Akali that you'll get both of them every game, regardless of what. I don't even care if there's like 0 AD opponents, which is extremely unlikely, seeing as there's always the AD carry, but I will still buy Zhonya's Hourglass, simply because the item is super good for playmaking, which will be explained later on as well. So, Hexagon Blades. You'll usually want to buy this item first, unless you're playing against an AD opponent against who you fear he might be able to burst you down. Good example here again is Riven. Against the Riven, I will actually get Seekers. Let me get that here. As you guys can see, Seeker's Arm Guard gives you extra ability power and armor, but will also scale up nicely and be quite cost efficient against an opponent who you fear might be able to one-shot you. Because that's really what Akali wants to do in lane. She wants to sustain, she wants to harass a little bit, then go back, heal up to full with your lifesteal and your spell vamp, and then go at it again. Of course, that's quite hard if someone one-shots you. So here the armor, really nice to prevent that. So usually you're going to want to just get your Gunblade and pick up rank 1 boots somewhere along the way when you have the 325 gold. That's definitely not set in stone. And then you're going to get your Zonias. Why are these items so important, guys? Hexa Gunblade is very good because it just does everything Akali wants. It gives you good damage, get AD, get AP, Akali skills with both. You get sustain, you get your spell vamp and lifesteal, which makes Akali just ridiculous in duels. And you get a very nice active. The active does slow your opponent down and provides another piece of extra burst. So you could say that this item was tailor-made for Akali almost. Really a great item. As Zonias, this item is going to allow you to go really ham in team fights and then go snipe the AD carry or the AP carry or whoever you deem to be the most annoying target, and then just pop that Zonia's Hourglass, because if you use your W in a team fight, chances are that your opponents will have detection, and that will just cancel out your W. Not only will you die, but you will have also wasted 80 energy, which you could have used to nuke someone down. So using your W in teamfights is quite conditional. You need to make sure they don't have detection. And in higher levels of play, they will always have detection. So consider Zonias the replacement of your W once you hit teamfights. Alright, then we get into the really interesting part of the build, and this is where it really mixes up. These 4 items can be bought in different order, and you don't always have to buy Merc Treads. Why do I list Merc Treads here? Because it's going to be the pair of boots that you buy most of the time. But if they don't have any form of crowd control, like no stuns, no silences, no polymorph, you know, like Lulu for instance, then feel free to buy the Sorcerer boots. I just feel that Mercuries are really crucial when they do have crowd control, because Akali is someone that if you do get crowd controlled for too long, you just will not even be able to use your Zonias and you'll just flat out die. So quite important, Mercury Treads. So when do I buy these items? I will buy Lich Bane if I feel like I'm doing great in the game, I can survive team fights, and my opponents don't have a lot of magic resistance. Coming up to the next item, of course, Rylai's is the item that you will buy when you feel that the opponents can just provide too much burst. Let's say you are playing against the likes of a Syndra or a LeBlanc, for instance. High bursters, the extra health on the Rylai's really allows you to survive that burst and then heal back up with your lifesteal and spell vamp. So you'll buy this when you feel pressured, when you feel you're going to die a little bit too fast. Also, the slow is a nice addition, but definitely not crucial, considering we already have the extra Gunblade slow. Alright, and then Void Staff, quite easy. That's the item we're going to buy when we see that the opponents are stacking quite a bit of magic resistance. And it's an item you'll buy regardless, but just depends on when they buy their magic resistance. If they buy it early, you buy your Void Staff early. And if they don't buy it early, you don't buy your Void Staff early. All very simple, guys, all pretty straightforward. Alright, and yeah, we're going to be moving on to the next part of the guide. Hello and welcome to the first part of the laning phase tutorial. Here I'm going to be talking about laning against a melee opponent, in this case a Riven. So what is my goal when I lane against a melee opponent? I want to land my Q on him as often as possible. As you can see here, the moment it's up, I'll throw it out. And the really big issue is that people tend to throw it on creeps to farm, and that means you have zero pressure. Whereas if you always throw the Q onto your opponent, they can't really come into creep, or you can immediately auto-attack them and do a bunch of damage. One of the biggest tips that I can give you when laning against someone, or just in general, is to apply your Q twice. Now you might think, Shady, are you high? You can't use Q twice. Well, of course, I know that, but you have to land it first, then wait a little bit for it to cool down, then go aggressive when the debuff hasn't disappeared yet, proc it, then apply the second one, and then instantly proc the second one. As you see, it does do a bunch of damage. You see that I choose to take my W, my Shroud, as my second skill. I do that in nearly every matchup. For me, it just allows me to trade into the enemy minions without taking too much minion damage, as the Shroud does drop all the aggro that you have from minions and allows you to just go really, really aggressive. It also has the added benefit of when you use your Q onto a minion, onto the enemy champion, you can trade and then instantly disengage when you're out of burst. That is the really standard Akali trading motto, land all your burst, then get out of there with W. Right here in this recording, you see that my Wukong is doing some serious monkey business. Even in Diamond 1, this stuff happens, guys. But don't worry about it if it happens in your games. Just stay cool and win your game. It will not have a great impact onto this laning phase, as I'm not going to show you the entire laning phase, just enough so that you guys get the picture. The main thing to know with Akali is that you have to get to level 6 without taking too much damage. This is where most Akalis go wrong. They just take too much harass, they lose too many minions, they might even die before they hit 6, and then they can't end up carrying the game. If you get more experienced with Akali, it will become a lot easier getting to level 6 and even pressuring your opponent pre-level 6. As you see here, versus a melee opponent, I have no issue with pressuring my opponent a little bit, even when when I'm not level 6. So this is all good. We're gonna recall. Looks like Riven just came back into lane. Why am I recalling? Well, she recalled. She got a Dorans. It's time for me to recall as well. I got a full Seeker's Arm Guard, so I'm definitely ahead right now. Double Dorans versus Seeker's Arm Guard. Well, wasn't able to pick up extra potions though. Was a very clutch buy, but a pretty good buy. This is actually a very nice timer, as Seeker's Arm Guard will just help you out so much versus melee opponents. Melee / physical damage is just really good against targets that don't have any armor. From the moment you start buying armor, becomes a lot less good, of course. So Seekers in that regard is extremely cost efficient versus the likes of Riven. So you're gonna see me land a Q on her whenever I can, but also respect your opponent. Riven can do a lot of burst. So right here you see the apply burst, then go into W, but she does end up trading well because I wasn't able to use double Q, so well played by her there. The main thing on my mind right now is to just hit 6 without doing too much stupid things. Right now you see that she has a big creep wave, so it would be foolish of me to go too aggressive. Yes, I can use the W to drop creep aggro, but she can literally just smoke me out and wait there, and at some points I'll have to resurface and I'll take a bunch of damage. But that's all good. All you want to do at this point is just consume that minion wave, get level 6, and then you can start trading really well. Because level 6 does not only add a little extra burst from this extra skill that you can use, it also guarantees that you can apply double Q. Because you have to imagine that when you're not level 6, people can just run away before you are able to detonate your second Q, or perhaps even your first Q. Makes it a lot easier when you have that level 6. to avoid that from happening. So here I do hit level 6, and from now on it's all about picking the right moment. I went aggressive there because I knew she didn't have all her skills available, and I was able to trade okay. This was not a great trade, but an okay trade. Make sure that you keep buying potions, guys. Potions are so important in a laning phase. They help out so much, and it's a little investment, yet people buy potions way too little. When I'm laning in top lane, I nearly always go back and buy some potions as well. When I have the money, of course. I won't really miss out on an item for it. Okay, so you see that my stacks have charged, which is great. So if you want to go aggressive, you can go aggressive here. You want to make sure that you grab all the creeps first though. A lot of people get a little over enthusiastic when they play Akali and they miss out on a lot of creep kills. There's no real reason for it. Alright, here we see Sneaky Riven going extremely aggressive straight away. I know that I didn't have time to prepare and land the Q in the beginning, so that's why I used my Shroud immediately and declined the fight. Make sure that when you do that, you don't go aggressive too soon. If I would have gone aggressive straight away now, I wouldn't have had my Shrouds, and I would have had low energy as well. So always monitor your energy level and make sure that your Shroud is up, seeing as those are two vital things that you need when you want to go aggressive. Alright, so right now I go aggressive, and I will be able to kill her, but here we go. The gank is coming, and we do end up dying. Alright, that concludes it. Alright guys, and welcome to the second part of the laning phase tutorial. I just spoke to you guys about the melee matchup. Of course, now we'll be having the ranged matchup. Now you'll see that both lanes are top lane. That is because I believe that Akali is better in top lane than she is in mid lane, simply because you fight a lot less ranged opponents in top lane. Of course, it does happen to have a ranged opponent, and that's why I put this clip here so we can see how to get out of that lane in an okay shape. More often than not, you will not win that lane, but there's a big difference between not winning a lane and losing a lane. If you can go somewhat even against a ranged opponent, you're doing well. Right, so our opponent for this game will be Karma, as you can see here. She's going aggressive straight off the bat, but loses some damage because of creeps, so we're all good. You see that I start with a cloth armor. Now that is because of my specific rune setup that I told you guys about earlier. If you don't have the extra magic resistance runes, feel free to start with boots, because it will be easier to dodge out on Karma Qs, and you won't really need to have extra armor on top of that. Right, so we see that Karma is doing a lot of damage to herself, but the biggest mindset that you guys need to create in this matchup, or against nearly any ranged opponent, is that any harassment that you throw out towards the ranged opponent is wasted. You are not in this lane to beat them pre-6. That is not our goal. The secret to having a very consistent laning phase pattern is to have a plan and to execute that plan. A lot of people, when they get into a lane, they just kind of do whatever. You know, they come into the lane and they try to do stuff. I always have a very, very secure plan. I know what I want to achieve in that laning phase, and that allows me to achieve it most of the times. Right, here you saw that my Skarner came in and did a very nice gank. I play very passive in these ranged lanes, guys, and I know that when I get a gank, that is my chance to get ahead in the lane. So play passive, stay far away from your ranged opponent, make sure that you CS with your Q. Don't walk up to the minion because you will take so much damage. Alright, so great. So right now we do get first blood. We're ahead in the ranged lane, but still you're gonna see me play quite conservative. That is because I still don't have that level 6, and essentially nothing has changed. She can still kite me really well. She can still harass me really well. Yes, I have a XP lead. Yes, I have a gold lead, but that does not really help me right now. it will start helping me once I hit level 6, of course. So, very clear game plan in this lane versus Karma. We are going to relax, we're going to sit back, grab as many creeps as we can, with taking as little damage as we can. And now we see a nice harass combo by Karma, but I do end up using my W so she can't land that Q, which is great. Elise comes in for a little poke, get out of here. You see that I'm very far away from her, up to the point that I'm nearly out of experience, but I don't need to be in experience if nothing is dying, so just kind of copy me when it comes to this, guys. It is okay to miss a creep or two and not lose half your health. A lot of people, when they play Akali, they try to go after every creep versus a ranged opponent, and you just have to accept that you will not get every creep. That is just how it is. The faster you accept that and the faster you know that, you'll start winning these lanes. Winning these lanes is not easy, it will not happen fast, but if you're consistent, you stick to your game plan, you take the farm, you don't take a lot of harass, you will somehow end up on top. As I did now, Skarner comes in for a gank. Karma's pushing me 24/7, so it's very hard for Elise to gank me and very easy for Skarner to gank her, so that's also the added advantage of being top lane. If someone picks a ranged opponent against you, they make themselves very vulnerable for ganks. Alright, great, so we are just going to use our W under the tower here. It's a very nice point. A lot of people, when they farm under tower, they have this idea that they can't really get harassed because they're under their tower. A good ranged opponent will not really care if there's a tower and will just dash in and out of tower aggro, avoiding tower shots, and still lower your health. So, very big point of that is using your shrouds under tower to make sure you don't take too much damage. And so we see that my Zed is coming in for a gank, which is awesome. I just hit level 6, very important. I hit that creep to make sure I would hit it, so that I can assist Zed into killing this guy. Alright, I'm able to use my ult without my flash. Karma flashes away, so I use my flash as well. If Karma doesn't have her flash, I won't really need mine, and I have no issues using my flash to secure that kill, because I know that once I get ahead in that lane, I won't really need my flash. If Elise comes for a kill, I can usually escape or even do a 1 versus 2. So great, we're up 2-0. I could end the clip here and just show you guys, hey, this is how you get ahead in a ranged lane. Of course, I did have a lot of help from my team, but the basic idea is there. You need to relax, grab creeps, wait for ganks, or wait until you hit level 6. Don't be aggressive before that, and don't take too much damage. I am not going to close out the clip, however, because a lot of people ask me, Shady, how do you carry a game from top lane? And that's a good question, because the answer is not really that simple. The way how you should carry top lane is that you beat your opponent that hard that the enemy jungler has to beat top lane 24/7. And that opens your teams up for taking dragons and stuff like that, or just your jungler having free reign in the bottom side of the map. If the jungler does not come top 24/7, it is your job to keep killing your opponent, or if he's just always really far away from his tower, just grab the tower. You'll see that I'm not really shy of tower diving people when I'm ahead as Akali, even someone as annoying as Karma. You see that I just ended up doing a really nice trade. I didn't really do double Q. This is kind of a little variation on double Q. This was Q, ult in, run away, Q, ult back in. It's something you can do. It's when people really expect you to do Q, wait a little bit, Q. You can try using Q, ult. Okay, so I go aggressive yet again, and it's really a tiresome process against Karma. Just have to go in, do some damage, she's gonna do the shield, she's gonna do the slow, she's gonna root you. Just be patient, guys. You have good regeneration with your spell vamp. Just try to dodge as many Qs as you can, and if you get hit by too many Qs, just lifesteal back up, or spell vamp rather. you see that her health is slowly getting lower and lower because she cannot regen health as easy as I can, which is very important that you get that concept of harassing someone down by trading and then healing straight back up. Alright, so we're laning against one of the hardest matchups. We did get 2 successful ganks, which we used to get ahead. Right now, it's up to us to carry our team, make sure that you get really fed and that you put so much pressure on the top lane that it ends up just breaking. That you just destroy all the towers and that your team gets a nice global gold lead. So right here, I'm considering warding, but I don't know, I can't really see. Alright, cool. So I land a Q on Karma, I go aggressive, land my Ignite, and she is forced to flash out. So that means that she will not have a flash, and that she'll be under tower with reasonably low health. There's no reason not to tower dive that, guys. So you see her here. I know that I can kill her. I just land my Q first, then go out of tower aggro, make sure I can double Q if needed, but you see that one Q just does it. Alright, so that concludes it for the ranged laning phase, guys, and I hope you can put it to good use. Next up is the teamfight section. Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to the teamfight section of this guide. Right now we'll be showing the clip in half speed, only at 50%, because it's easier for me to commentate as things can go down rather fast. You see that we are going to force a team fight by doing Baron Nashor. I do get harassed quite low in combination of Baron damage and Draven damage, so that means that I'm going to have to start this team fight with a handicap, but no problem. First thing on my mind is, can I get onto the AD carry? Answer is no. If I go in, Lulu will just polymorph me and I'll just end up dying super fast. So what do I do instead? I zone the Draven out. As you can see here, if Draven chooses to come anywhere near this teamfight, I'll just rip him in pieces straight off. So we zone him out and wait for a good catch. So Jarvan does go aggressive, which gives me time to snipe this Aurelia, which gets hit by the charm. And this really initiates the chain reaction. One target goes down, we get some resets, and I can just end up killing everyone on the team. So this was a very good example of being patient. If you can get onto the AD carry and straight away kill him, feel free to do so. But if there's a bunch of crowd control standing next to the AD carry, keep into consideration that you can also just zone him out, and then when a good opportunity arises, go aggressive. As I always like to say, if the AD carry is not yet shooting at your team, you don't really have to go. Of course, if you have a good opportunity, feel free to go, but just assess the situation and try to decide for yourself whether you should go ham straight away or not. In the end, you will learn this with experience, but I hope this clip was helpful for you. And next up will be a second team fight where we show a little bit of a different scenario, so you guys can learn from that as well. Alright, see you in a bit. Alright guys, and welcome to the second part of the teamfight tutorial. Right here you see that I'm quite fed. As some of you might see, this is the game where I showed you guys the Karma laning phase. So I ended up snowballing quite hard in that game because of the assistance of my team, which was great. But now it's up to me to carry the team fight, of course. If you have this kind of a score, you need to put it to good use. So you see that Zonia's, Extra Gunblade, Lichbane are done. I also have a Giant's Belt, so really nice. But the opponents have a Kale, so that makes this team fight difficult. And you'll see that I use a different technique here to make sure that we bring the team fight to a good end. Unfortunately, I get hit by some crowd control, but we're ahead enough to scare the opponents. And here my Skarner goes aggressive, but ends up just being taken down. So looks to be a horrible team fight, and we have to retreat. So Akali is really good in turning around team fights. But you have to pick out the right moment. So here the tidal wave comes in. Obviously we're going to try and dodge that to begin with. There we go. Nice dodge. And I go aggressive onto the Nami straight away. Because no way Nami will get the Divine Intervention. And she's actually quite annoying if I want to kill AD carry. Right, so Kale has her invulnerability. I use my stealth, I wait it out, kill Kale, I jump onto Elise to get closer to Kog'Maw, and then instantly take him down. There we go, well, not that instantly, but it goes quite fast. Remember, Clip is at half health, half speed. And then we go and turn on to Elise, and we do end up picking up that Quadra kill. So very important that you guys realize how to teamfight and how a Kale or a Zillion, which has kind of the same purpose, affects your teamfight. So be very aware of that and choose your targets properly. Alright guys, that concludes it for this teamfight. Hey there, you've reached the end of my Akali tutorial. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I like to teach people all the time, so I figured why not make a video guide about it. I've already made some written guides. If you guys enjoyed the style with which I teach, feel free to drop by on my stream, which is right over here, twitch.tv/shadybunny. If you have any further questions, I will try to answer them over there. Feel free to send me a personal message on my stream as well, as I read every single one. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to me on YouTube and follow my channel on Twitch. Alright guys, that was it. Enjoy gaining a lot of ELO, and I will see you all next time.